Hi everyone, I'm here with our second video about immigration detention, and we're going to start with what happens when people are in Mexico and trying to come to the United States to request asylum. So there are three ways that a person can come from Mexico into the United States to request asylum. The first way is the app CBP1. The second way, sometimes people can go to the port of entry and request entry into the United States there so they can come into the US and request asylum. And then the last way is by crossing into the US illegally. So, like coming through the river, for example, or through the desert. So we're going to talk about those three options and kind of what they can mean for your case. So the first option is CBP1. What is CBP1? Okay, it is an app that you download onto your smartphone, and the app only works in the northern part of Mexico. So if you're still in Tapachula, you can't schedule an appointment from there. You can only schedule an appointment when you're in, like, I think Mexico City and north. So because it only works in northern Mexico, an attorney in the United States cannot schedule the appointment for you. We do get some phone calls asking people asking for help scheduling the interview, and because the app is blocked in the United States, we can't help with that. The app is free to use. People should not have to pay to use the app. And so what are the benefits, right, of using the CBP1 app? If you're able to get an appointment, you will go to the port of entry and at your scheduled date and time, and then CBP immigration will process you. Most people are not detained. They're allowed to enter the United States. And then immigration gives them a court date to appear so that they can start their asylum process. So entering with CBP1 does not give you asylum. Entering with CBP1 gives you a lawful entry, a court date, and the opportunity to request asylum in immigration court. You can also request a work permit. Okay. So those are huge benefits, right? Getting a lawful entry. Most people aren't detained. Immigration can always detain you. So we have seen immigration detaining people from certain nationalities, people with criminal history, or people who have been previously deported. So there is some risk, but the majority of people are not detained who use the CBP1 app. So if the CBP1 app is so great, right, you get all these benefits, then why aren't more people using it? So the app can be very frustrating to use, and there is a limited number of appointments. We've heard of people waiting sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 months, sometimes longer, in order to get an appointment. So we understand that the app can be very frustrating to use, but because of all of the benefits, we really encourage people to try and use it. Okay, so what if you can't use the app, right? What if sometimes people can't read or write? Sometimes people don't have a phone. Sometimes people don't have internet. What can they do? We recommend that those people talk with the nonprofit organizations that are in Mexico. Sometimes the nonprofits can help people go to the port of entry and request entry into the United States without a CBP-1 appointment. Again, we recommend people talk with the nonprofits who are in Mexico who do this a lot for assistance. Okay, so the last option, and the option that we don't recommend people do, and we're going to talk about why, is entering the United States through the river or through the desert, right? It's an illegal entry into the United States in order to request asylum. So we talked about how CBP-1, right? Most people avoid detention, but the people who enter through the river or through the desert, most of them are going to be detained. They're going to be sent to an ICE detention center here in the United States. And we are seeing people detained for, I would say 3 to 4 months is the average time that people are detained now. It is very long, and immigration detention it's jail, right? Like it is a prison system. And so people don't have access to their cell phones. The food is very bad, and there's just a lot of issues with immigration detention. We believe that immigration detention is a human rights violation. We don't think that immigration should be detaining people who are coming here to seek asylum and seek safety in the United States. But this is the system, and it's important to understand what that is. So for people who cross illegally, right, into the U.S. to request asylum, if they are taken to an immigration detention center in the U.S., they have to pass what's called a credible fear interview before they can be released from detention. Okay, we're going to talk later on about what a credible fear interview is. But for now, the important thing to know is that there is this credible fear, this initial interview for asylum that people have to pass before they can be released from detention. So if someone cannot show that they could qualify for asylum in the United States, then immigration will order them deported. And if they're ordered deported, then they are sent back to their country. The question I get asked probably every week, if not every day, for people who have not passed their credible fear interview is there any way that they can buy their freedom? Can they post a bond? Is there anything else that they can do because they don't want to be sent back? And the answer for most people is no. Most people who receive the negative credible fear interview are going to be deported back to their countries. So it's very, very risky to cross into the United States illegally because of detention, the risk of deportation. There's also safety issues with cartels and things like that. So we really discourage people from crossing into the U.S. Illegally. We are going to talk in the next video about what the credible fear process is and why it is so important to have an attorney for that first interview. I know a lot of people think I'm afraid to go back, so I know I'm going to pass my interview. I don't need a lawyer. I have police reports or whatever. Sadly, we see a lot of people who do not pass their interviews. Sometimes I think that they could have passed if they had had an attorney helping them and preparing them for that interview. So we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, the important things to know is try to request entry into the United States through that CBP-1 appointment. And we'll see you in the next video.